All right, hi everyone. This is Katie Awake. I'm popping on tonight to make a few videos. I'm excited to post and really grateful to my husband that helped me set up the lighting for this as well. So tonight I want to talk about the energetics behind Lyme's disease. And first I want to say that I'm a very fluid healer when it comes to medical diagnosis. I think there is value in it in getting like an identification of symptoms and how to kind of get some relief and get a cognitive understanding and hope and plan with a diagnosis. But at the same time, I think sometimes they can become prisons for people if they only allow their healing to stay at what maybe one doctor tells them, or if it kills their hope or kills their belief further, which is usually pretty dead for most people, in like knowing that they can heal themselves with their own consciousness and awareness. So essentially my job is to wake that back up for people so they can remember that they can heal themselves quite naturally with a team of support. So that includes, for some of us, that includes Western medicine, includes other holistic approaches to healing, but it definitely needs to be holistic. It needs to be a team. And so tonight I want to talk about Lyme's disease because I have a handful of clients right now that either have a diagnosis of that and I'm supporting them on the energy healing component of their team. I also have a couple recently that basically display all the symptoms of it, and at one point in their life there was discussion of there being a diagnosis, but never actually happened. So what's most important for me to share is that I can see the energetic wounds that these women have, and they are extreme psychological pain, extreme mental and emotional, torturous pain. These wounds, from my perspective, look like false chakras, like a negative of a chakra. And this will resonate with you, especially if you know what the chakras are, if you work with them in your own work, or if it's a new concept to you, that's okay. It's essentially a false energy center, and it's going to have like an energy vampire component to it, where it's a psychological wound that is so horrible and it's in so much pain. Like one of them that I saw this week was literally in like an agonizing scream. It was in so much pain, and the scream was coming from needing, like not having their basic needs met, and then in some kind of agonizing, torturous pain psychologically. And so what else do I want to say about that? These wounds are real. This physical reality seems so real because it's dense enough that we have this experience of it being physical. We have our five senses that we associate with it. But really, there is so much more to life and creation, way beyond what anybody could comprehend, that is unseen, that is, what a physical human might call not real or not believable or not valid or not proven by science, any of those things. But there is so much more, like infinitely more, that we can't see, that is real, and we pick up on it through our different modes of intuition. There's so much more real unseen than there is actually what a physical human would consider seen, this physical dense reality, and so it's point in fact just limited to only think of medical care as physical, because then you're only going to be treating physical symptoms with physical drugs or medications or herbs or whatever it is that you're treating on the physical, and that's good. There's no duality, there's no good or bad. But if you're only looking for physical symptoms, it's a limited approach. And there's more and more people waking up on the planet that have the awareness and the resources to look at health from a multidimensional perspective. And this is the oldest medicine that there is. You know, if you look at earth-based cultures, ancient cultures, it's multidimensional, it's spiritual healing. That's what we're getting to now in the West. We have the privilege and the resources to be safe, to have basic needs met, so then we can awaken our own medicine to be everyone at the table, your energy healer, your chiropractor, your acupuncturist, your doctor, whoever it is, to make your team. But do not limit yourself to just physical healing, in the same way that a person's not going to be getting their full healing if they only look at things energetically. You know, it has to be all the levels. So the reason I'm saying all of this is in particular to talking about this diagnosis of Lyme's disease, because it is an invisible disease and they say it's incurable, which is not true. It is completely curable, just like anything else. It has ancestral components for sure. It has inherited intergenerational trauma. It has trauma from this lifetime and childhood programming. What else? And then it has the person's unique way that they constructed their coping mechanisms to get through their childhood, or just like be in the world, the way that they had to form a false identity. One of traits that are acceptable by the people around them are acceptable to society. So the way that everybody does that with their coping mechanism is, and their personality or their false personality, the one that we make up just to be considered acceptable or lovable or whatever those parameters are, that's what sickness is. That's what disease is, because those coping mechanisms that we create in childhood and that we bring in from other lifetimes, those don't feel good for us because they're based on survival, and they're based on fear, and they're based on not wanting to be left out, all these things. And so healing for anyone, Lyme's disease included, involves, what I do is a 6-month program, and we look at all of those components that I just named. And what has been happening this week, and the reason I'm inspired to make these videos tonight, is because I had a number of women that I saw in a row that had these gaping negative chakras, these monstrous screaming wounds, psychological wounds that were chained back through time in their ancestry. So they absolutely require ancestral healing to heal. That's the first component that we look at. And then basically I just work with the wound itself. I work with the ancestors that show up for the session. We basically give the pain back to them, because the soul that originates with the pain is the one that can heal it. They're the only one that can take accountability for it. So there's this whole like ancestor level healing that when it comes to it. And then the wounds itself, like sometimes it can be like a one and done where we see the wound, we work on it, and that's it. But more likely, and it's the reason I have this time commitment to my work with women, is because it's a layered process. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. The other piece, which I think is unique to a Lyme's disease diagnosis, is the silencing part of it, this thing that is invisible, because the reason these wounds scream so loudly but they're not showing as physical symptoms very much, or they're symptoms that, you know, can't be seen, but these women are, you know, if we have a diagnosis like that or we have the symptoms, we are just in so much pain because no one believes us, or we experience a lot of invalidation or mocking or bullying, or, you know, we might have a strong component to hide the pain or pretend like it's not there. Those are all a big part of why the energetic wound is not physical, because there's other diseases or sicknesses where this thing is going to be showing up like, you know, huge gaping wounds through the skin. And that's obviously different things, but yeah, I'm talking about these this invisible illness and why it is so. So it's both the inherited, because it's so big, it can't just be created in one person's life. It has to be layers of going through generations of why it's so big and why it's so loud and horrible. And then there's going to be the silencing pressure on top of it of, I can't talk about this, no one's going to believe me, I just have to suffer in silence. And then it shows up like really quietly, like bruising or migraines or just like depression, anxiety, these things that are easier to hide. Those are the two main components of what needs healing. And I think that's about it. So it was important for me to come on and talk about this. I hope that this has created hope. I hope this has created hope within you and anyone watching this that has that diagnosis or has those types of symptoms. And feel free to reach out if you want to work with me. And I hope you all have a great evening. I'll be in touch soon. Bye.